Hi folks, how are we doing? Matt here from the RCR podcast. It's been a little while. We've got a few episodes stacked up coming to you towards the end of April and into May. But the reason for this quick microcast is that something quite interesting has come across my desk. I can hear a little bell in the background. So a little bell went off in the background there. That's rather annoying, isn't it? Anyway, this came across my desk via LinkedIn, and essentially this is really instructive. So something that's come along is this report from the Home Builders Federation, and essentially it's about biodiversity net gain and how local authorities have coped with the additional workload associated with biodiversity net gain. That is a bit of a buzzword at the moment. It's being discussed as part of the planning and infrastructure bill proposals amongst ecologists and arboriculturalists across the UK. But this Home Builders Federation report is really quite instructive. So there are 11 pages. I will pop a link in the description below to it, but I just wanted to run through this. So the Home Builders Federation, they wanted to know if local planning authorities and local planning departments are sufficiently resourced to oversee and monitor BNG requirements, and guess what? It's not looking good. So what they did was they basically did a freedom of information exercise. And what does the data say? Well, we're pretty much 1 year on since the introduction of mandatory BNG, and nearly 40% of local authorities do not have access to in-house ecological expertise. 40% of local authorities do not have access to in-house ecological expertise. And I think we can thank Rachel in accounts for that. Rachel Reeves. Funding, it's not been forthcoming, has it? And it's only going to get more expensive to employ people as we charge on through the rest of 2025. So what else does it tell us? It tells us that 1 in 3 local authority planning departments have not expanded their ecology teams since the introduction of BNG. 1 in 3. So 30%, 33.33% of local planning authority departments have not expanded their ecology teams since the introduction of BNG. However, in the private sector, we've obviously had to expand our teams of ecologists. We've had to upskill them at immense expense. And what we're finding, particularly within Rover, is that sometimes when these BNG reports are submitted, is that we're getting all sorts of silly questions coming back because the person on the other end doesn't actually fully understand the information that is in front of them. Only a third of local authorities have staff dedicated solely to BNG. Most ecologists are balancing a focus on BNG with other council services. So there's that 30% again. A quarter, 25% of the staff recruited to support BNG in local authorities are temporary. 25%. Now, the cynic in me says, why is that being done? It's being done to manage employment costs, no holiday, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, 25% of the staff recruited to support BNG in local authorities are temporary, and a quarter of councils, 25% of councils, have seen ecologists leave their role within the past year, and that pans out with what we've been seeing here on the podcast with some of the guests that we've had in who have left local planning authorities because they're overworked, under-resourced, and most ecologists really didn't get into ecology to argue over 3 square metres of modified grassland at the back of a Lidl's store. So yeah, it's a depressing place to be. They go on to say that if BNG continues to cause delays to planning permission and threaten small to medium enterprise businesses, housing delivery will continue to stall. Now, I don't believe that BNG is the main staller, but it's certainly an interesting point, and it's certainly a contributory factor, isn't it? It has to be. The House Building Federation goes on to say government must ensure local authorities are sufficiently staffed and placed on a sustainable financial footing with a strategy to address the recruitment crisis for ecology. Difficult one, that, isn't it? Because the ecologist is within the private sector. I know there's a few ideas flying around at the moment about sort of pre-accreditation for ecologists, so that the private sector does the rubber stamping for the local planning authorities, but just if the local planning authorities were allowed to spend some of the planning fees they raise on resourcing their departments, that would probably help with that, wouldn't it? And, you know, the reality is that's not happening. Listen to my podcast with Sean Toffs for a little... No, it wasn't Sean Toffs. Who was it? Can't remember. Go back a couple of episodes, and we had a guest on from ex-local planning authority planning officer, and he was talking about funding there. So go back and have a listen to that one. It's very instructive. For a full breakdown of the findings of the House Building Federation, you can go to hbf.co.uk/research-insight. That's hbf.co.uk/research-insight, and that will give you exactly what you need. So that was a little quick kind of state of the union, something interesting that I saw, and it gave me an opportunity to use my new bell on my podcast desk, which I'm sure you're all massively impressed with. So I'm recording this on Tuesday, just after Easter Monday. I hope you all had a good break, and I'll look forward to bringing you some more content over the next few weeks.